Dive in.
Always.
Today we're tackling deep dive prep. How to gear up for those big strategy sessions.
Ah, those make or break meetings.
Exactly. And no scuba gear needed, thankfully.
Right.
More like how to tackle a complex problem or opportunity without your brain short-circuiting.
I like that short-circuiting.
Right. So we dug into a bunch of articles, some about running those meetings, others about deep dives into, well, just about anything you want to learn. And guess what?
Total overlap. Right.
A ton. It's like the same skills apply whether you're leading a team or just trying to master a new recipe.
It's true. The fundamentals are surprisingly similar.
Okay, so first up, anyone else get that feeling of their brain turning to spaghetti when faced with a big, hairy problem?
Oh, 100% is the worst.
Right. Well, this article, 164, How to Prepare for a Deep Dive Strategy Session.
Yeah.
It's like they crawled inside my head. They had this whole thing about structuring deep dives, which sounds obvious
But we so often skip it.
all the time. And this article really drove home why we need that structure, even if it's just mental scaffolding.
Exactly. Think of it like a good research project. You need some kind of compass, a North Star, to guide you, even if you end up taking detours along the way.
Okay, that makes sense. So where do we even start?
They broke it down into 3 steps. First up, the agenda, which seems like a no-brainer.
Until you get 5 minutes in and everyone's off on a tangent.
Happens every time. So having that agenda, it's like, okay, here are our big rocks for today. We might shuffle them around, but at least we're all clear on what we're working with.
Right, keeps everyone on the same page. But then what about those aha moments? Where someone throws out an idea that sends everyone down a rabbit hole.
It's the best, right. And that's step 2, knowing how to wrangle those shiny new ideas. Jot them down, they're gold,
Yeah.
but then make a choice. Do we unpack this now, or do we park it for later?
So disciplined exploration, I like it. Now, point 3 is where I think a lot of deep dives go wrong, where all that brainstorming doesn't actually translate into action.
The worst, right. All that energy and then nothing. No decisions, no next steps, just a whole lot of head nodding, and then everyone goes back to their desks.
Exactly. So how do we avoid that deep dive to nowhere situation?
It's all about those crystal clear takeaways. Before you wrap up, you nail down what are the immediate actions, who's responsible, and by when.
Oh, I like that, having that accountability built in.
It's essential, because that's what separates a brainstorming session from a truly productive deep dive. One has ideas, the other has a plan.
Love it. Okay, so we've got a structure. We know how to handle those genius moments without getting totally derailed. But now, what about the content of our deep dive? How do we decide what actually goes on the agenda?
Picking the right problems to solve, right?
Exactly. And this other article we found, Deep Dives, Strategic Inquiry and High-Performance Teams had this awesome concept of 5% issues.
Yeah, those are good.
Have you heard of this? It's those problems that feel big and hairy, maybe even a little daunting.
But if you could just solve them,
Everything else would get easier.
it's like that leaky faucet you've been meaning to fix. Small thing, but it's driving you crazy, and fixing it would actually make a difference.
Yes. It's such a good analogy. So how do we pinpoint those 5% issues in our work? Before we even get to the deep dive part.
Well, this article had a great example called the big question.
Okay, hit me with it.
Before you get into any specifics, you take a step back and ask, what's the single most significant problem impacting our work right now?
Interesting. So it's like zooming out to get the full picture before you start poking around in the details.
That's where the art of asking really killer questions comes in.
Okay, I'm all ears.
This article deep dives strategic inquiry and high-performance teams had this formula for a killer question. It just blew my mind.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Picture this. You're in a meeting, someone throws out a challenge, and instead of the usual vague hand-wringing, they say, how can we ensure desired outcome by a specific time frame so that everyone can benefit from tangible impact? The
Yeah.
whole conversation just snaps into focus.
Ooh, I like that. It's like a recipe for a laser-focused question.
Yeah.
You're not just complaining, you're already pointing towards solutions.
Exactly. It injects urgency and ties the issue directly to value. But, even with the perfect structure and brilliant questions, there's still one more ingredient to nail a deep dive.
The human element, right?
Mhm.
It's not just about the info. It's about how we connect and communicate, especially when other people are involved.
Spot on. And that reminded me of this article, Coaching on How to Survive a Deep Dive Meeting Sounds Intense, but it had some surprisingly universal advice.
Yeah, I was surprised by how much it resonated even outside of an investor meeting context.
Totally. One of their big points is, when someone throws a tough question your way, Your first instinct shouldn't be to panic or, even worse, BS your way through it. Instead, just acknowledge, validate that's a great question, and then ask for clarification.
So smart. It not only buys you a minute to think, but it also shows you're truly engaged and want to make sure you understand what they're really asking.
Right. And that leads into what they call the question behind the question. Sometimes what goes unsaid is the most important part. Like, if someone's grilling you about your customer acquisition cost, are they really worried about your marketing strategy? Or maybe your ability to scale?
It's like there's speaking in code and you've got to crack it. But what about those moments when you genuinely don't know the answer? That's always my biggest fear.
Oh, I've been there. The worst thing you can do is try to fake it. Instead, be honest, but show them how you think. You could say something like, "That's a really good question, and I don't have a definitive answer yet. Here's how I'd approach figuring it out."
That's so much better than just drawing a blank. Or, worse, making something up on the spot.
Right. It shows you can think on your feet, and it invites collaboration, which is pure gold in a deep dive. It transforms a potential gotcha moment into a shared exploration. Remember that article, Education Outrage? Take deep dive when you want to learn something. That was a great point in there about the illusion of nano learning.
Oh yeah, the idea that you can master anything in a few minutes, please.
Right. Real mastery, true understanding, that deep dive mentality takes time, dedication, and a willingness to get your hands dirty with the complexity. And that actually got me thinking about, well, have you ever noticed how different it feels when you really go deep on something versus just skimming the surface?
100%. It's like, yeah, I read the Wikipedia page on Rome versus I actually wandered those streets for a month.
Exactly. It's those little details, the stuff you can't get from a bullet point list, that really make the difference.
Totally. And that's what this whole deep dive thing is all about, right?
Mm.
Whether it's prepping for a big strategy session at work or finally mastering that skill you've been putting off or just getting curious about something new.
It's about being willing to push past the surface, to get a little uncomfortable, to embrace the complexity.
And that's where the real magic happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when you really go depth, you don't just learn information, you have those aha moments, those shifts in perspective that can change how you see the world.
Love that. And hey, you don't have to go alone, right? Find a thought partner, talk to an expert, join a community.
Sharing the journey makes it even more rewarding.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
So there you have it, your crash course in deep diving. From wrangling your thoughts to asking killer questions to embracing the confidence that comes from really knowing your stuff.
Now go forth and conquer those deep dives.
Until next time, happy diving.